Max Seniors pre-final will be underway. Some very, very big names here in Summervacker. Well, I promise you that's not Kevin Rijkaard who's sitting in the cart right now. Maybe that's, if you're a fella, you'll say that's an improvement as a view, but that lady will not be driving cart number 213, Kevin Rijkaard. Incidentally, there's Kevin on the extreme left of your shot, although the media guys have moved in. They want these MS girls. These are the Czech girls wearing the Rotax caps, attracting the attention of all of our media people. They'll be on the grid at the start of the finals, but, well, they're on the dummy grid at the start of the pre-finals, aren't they? Once again, we see Kevin Rijkaard in shot and getting a smile from him. Not sure if that's because he knows that we've got the camera on him or if it's sitting next to the girls, but either way, have a smile, Kev, no problem. Well, there is cart number 213, which will be driven by Kevin Rijkaard. To the right of him, cart number 203, 203. Well, that's Mike Simpson, the Englishman, the current world number 3. He'll be starting on the third row. My clock shows that we're within 2 minutes of a start. There is Luke Cordell in shot. Luke Cordell starting well down the field on the 14th, 15th row, I think that it is. Maybe even a little bit further back than that. But this is an addressing by the stewards and the clerk of the course. So this is not, if you will, sort of ticking off, but I think it's a reminder. We had some unfortunate issues in the heats on Saturday, and there was an extra drivers briefing where it was suggested that maybe the drivers could also contribute a little bit to a more safe start and safe racing situation. And there are the guys being addressed. Well, on pole position is Christopher Locke, and he's joined by Kevin Rijkaard on the front row. Mike Joosens and Josh Hart are row 2. Luke Varley and Mike Simpson, row 3. Ben Cooper and Nick Voss are row 4. And the top 10 are completed by Joey Van Splunteren and James Bean on row 5. There in shot you see a very, very good vantage point. It's just below the commentary tower top. Well, that's a slightly different picture. They are the drivers still being addressed by the officials. That particular shot is over the start-finish line and gives a nice view. Exisuit.com, they're one of our sponsors in the Rotax Euro Challenge. Well, we're not going to make the scheduled 12:10 start because of the addressing. There are the drivers, as you see, moving back to the carts, so we will be just a shade later than we otherwise might have been. Be nice to have a close-up of Chris Locke in his cart number 217, but right now he's not there, so we'll have a look. Well, I don't know who the ladies are, but I can tell you that Kevin Rijkaard is the guy, the Jet Alliance man in cart 213. Stephen Chapman is mechanic and extremely able and capable mechanic alongside him. And talking about able and capable, there's our Red Devils Marshals team. Definitely the best in karting. Christopher Locke now in shot. Christopher Locke driving for RL Race Team, drives a Tony kart as the race suit confirms. Made his Rotax Euro Challenge debut at Salbris, France, and came second. And just behind him was Mike Joosens, the guy who has tended to come second place a little bit too often. He wants to be first. There's the green flag. They're going to leave the circuit now. 203 is Michael Simpson. See the cross of St. George. Well, not on the top of his helmet, not on the back of his helmet, all over his helmet. Mike Simpson, the world number 3, starts on row 3 on the outside with Luke Varley on the inner. George Robinson just unshot there, one of the very much knowledgeable men about Rotax karting, writes a column in Karting Magazine in the UK called the Max Column. Well, the first lap is just to shake down the motors and just get everything up to sort of 90% of racing pace. The second non-racing lap will be the formation lap when drivers can continue at this sort of pace but must then close down into a walking pace. Confirmation that Chris Locke starts on pole position with Kevin Rijkaard, Mike Joosens and Josh Hart. Josh Hart, the first New Zealander ever to race in the Rotax Euro Challenge and a teammate of Kevin Rijkaard in Intrepid Force Rotax. Ben Cooper, the defending champion, on the 4th row in cart number 201, the first ever champion to return to the Rotax Euro Challenge to defend his title. Jeff van Bergijk with his brother Sven was a regular but missed the first round in Salbris. We thought we'd lost him, but hey, he's come back. Good for that. Mats van der Brand on row 9. Well, he has driven ever so well in the heats, but had a sliver of metal in his eye that has had to be removed, and then he suffered a technical infraction disqualification. So Mats van der Brand, the junior champion, starting on row 9. Well, Chris Locke does a little bit of soaring with the wheel. See the big crowd on the gantry overlooking the start line there in this very, very pleasant Racelands setting. Our cameraman struggled a little bit with that wire fencing, which is a nice safety feature, but isn't good for ground level cameras televising the event. The rgmmc.com banners to the left, and coming onto the home straight for a rolling start. Do we get a first timer? Yes, we do. And Kevin Rijkaard has got the advantage from the outside of the front row. Chris Locke fighting back. Well, Kevin Rijkaard was definitely the quicker from the start, but the advantage... Oh, and we've got lots of contact at the top of the hill. That's an ugly picture on our television screen. 8, 9, 10 drivers there. 272 in shot is the only Israeli in the field, Yoav Goldbaum, but we have to stay with the drivers at the front. There is one of our front runners, I think, 305. Was that Mike Simpson that I saw there? 305 we saw was Joseph Riley, who has gone extremely well in his debut event, but I think that he was one of the victims on that. When I say victims, I'm not apportioning blame, just one of the people who unfortunately found himself off the circuit. But very much on the circuit is the race leader, the pole position man, Chris Locke, in front of Mike Usens. And, side by side, Mike Simpson going into third place. So it certainly wasn't Mike Simpson who had a problem. So English drivers, 4 of them in the top 5. Chris Locke, Mike Simpson, Luke Varley and Ben Cooper taking the British Challenge. And the front runners who had trouble were clearly Kevin Rijkaard. That's a bitter blow for Kevin Rijkaard and Josh Hart. So Intrepid Force Rotax, the team who were the top team in the early qualifying and heats, have had both of their top drivers in trouble right at the start of the Rotax Senior pre-final. Well, just looking off my television screen onto the circuit, there's some close racing in midfield, but there is Christopher Locke. He says, hey, I'm not interested in close racing, I'll just lead the field. Ben Cooper has gone past Mike Simpson, as you saw. So Chris Locke leads, Mike Usens second. Michael Simpson is now in 5th place because Luke Varley has also gone past him. Ben Cooper, though, fighting, and Ben Cooper goes third. Ben Cooper goes third, the defending champion, cart number 201. Well, just before the start of the race, I mentioned the problems for Mats van der Brand, last year's European Junior champion. He had that metal sliver in his eye. Ben Cooper in shot now in cart 201. He's been feeling ill. He's not been feeling 100%. But even though he's not been 100%, he's been finishing sort of 4th, 5th, 6th, 3rd, 4th in his heats. And hey, in the pre-final, is putting the pressure on, isn't he? Luke Varley loses a place to him. Luke Varley, I think, was there being passed Mike Usens. You see on the screen there, 203, which is Michael Simpson. Coming round to complete another lap. Christopher Locke has a huge lead. Ben Cooper second. In 3rd place now, Luke Varley. 4th is Mike Usens. 5th is Mike Simpson. 6th, Hannes van Asseldonk. And after those, Imre Birijdu, the Hungarian 7th. Danny Kamish, another Englishman, 8th. Mikkel Manser of Denmark, gone really well in this event, 9th. Tom Fawcett 10th, a big improvement. And Luke Cordell from the back up to 11th place. Good drives by those guys. Well, as I just look across my wide panorama from the commentary box, Christopher Locke's lead is huge. It must be 40 metres as we've only gone 3 laps. Oh, and that's a misfortune for one of our Birel drivers. Didn't see which one that was. I could hazard a guess, but I don't want to do so. It's on my caption as Adam Janus. I'm glad I didn't say, because that's not who I would have identified it as, but Adam Janus was not running in the top 20, so in one sense it's not such a disappointment, but it is for Adam Janus, who'll now have to start the final last. And more movement in midfield as I looked out off the television screen there. You see that race move of one of the drivers in the midfield immediately behind Mike Simpson may have been Hanny van Hasseldonk against Luke Varley. Yes, indeed, I think that was the dice that we were looking at. But Christopher Lock's lead over the field is 2.5 seconds. Ben Cooper is chasing him down, has broken Mike Hewson's to a degree, I think. Michael Simpson in 4th place. Michael Simpson is a little bit of a cushion, although behind him, Hanny van Hasseldonk and Luke Varley have been having their good dice. You saw the passing move on our screen. Here we are under the cart care gantry once again with 11 laps to go. There is the caption confirming that Hannes van Hasseldonk did go past Luke Varley. So the English are doing well, but they're not having it all their own way. The Dutch in the shape of Mike Hewsons and Hanny van Hasseldonk. And there you saw a bit of fighting back, didn't you? Hanny van Hasseldonk, Mike Simpson, Luke Varley being having a good dice. Well, cart number 229 is Hanny van Hasseldonk. 229, the Dutch driver driving a CRG chassis for CRG Holland. But Christopher Lock, we're not watching the leader a lot. We are at the moment on television, but the reason we're not watching him is so far in front. His fastest lap is 51.323. The next quickest lap is 51.56. So Chris Lock has got 0.2 of a second on everybody racing him, and that's on each lap. And with no traffic in front of him, there you see in shot cart number, I believe it was 201, Ben Cooper in 2nd place. If it wasn't 201, it was 207, but I'm pretty sure it was Ben Cooper. Yes, indeed. So Christopher Lock continues to lead. Cart number 217. RL Racing Team made their Rotax Euro Challenge debut in the first round at Salbris, France. We had wet conditions, we had dry conditions, we had in-between conditions, and Chris Lock was a revelation to me. Finished 2nd, didn't win that one. That was won by Mike Hewsons, but I was impressed with the consistency of Chris Lock. Mike Hewsons at the moment is in 3rd place as I look out on the circuit proper away from my screen. He's now tracking down Ben Cooper. Ben Cooper also just eating a fraction into the lead of Chris Lock, but Chris Lock had such a margin it's a little bit irrelevant. Well, the Dutch definitely fighting the English now, aren't they? Because Mike Hewsons and Hanny van Hasseldonk in 3rd and 4th place have relegated both Luke Varley and Mike Simpson to 5th and 6th. Imre Birijdo is 7th, Daniel Kamish 8th. The Danish driver Mikkel Manser is 9th, and another Englishman, Tom Fawcett, completes the top 10. Mikkel Manser in 9th place. He drove really, really well in the preliminaries. Some of the best driving I've seen from Mikkel Manser, the driver from Denmark, but unfortunately only in 9th place at the moment. James Bean will be disappointed to have dropped down to 16th place. Stephen Tilsley looking 17th place. Now you saw him in the last chance race early on. He's converted that. Josh Hart on the 2nd row at the start, 19th. Kevin Rijkaard in 25th place, but I'm not sure if they're circulating. Very, very unfortunate for those drivers on the problems at the start, but hey, we have to concentrate on the positive, which is that there are 8 laps to go of this 16-lap race. So as we move into the second half of the race, Christopher Lock, I'm tempted to keep my eyes on the television screen, but if I do that, I never see Christopher Lock. He's a long, long way away. Well, a good dice for the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th positions that our cameras are picking up there. Well done to the cameramen and to the directors. That's the heart of the action. Let me tell you that off screen, Christopher Lock is down the back straight, and his lead over Ben Cooper is just about 7/8 of the back straight. There is at the top of your right hand side of the screen Ben Cooper coming round, and let's tell you the differential between them. It must be huge. 3.78 seconds in favour of Christopher Lock. Ben Cooper 2nd, Mike Hewsons 3rd. Mike Hewsons and Ben Cooper were the 1 and 2 in this series last year. Mike Hewsons looked to have won the series last year, but had a 10-second penalty. Ben Cooper looked to have lost all opportunities when he failed to complete the pre-final. And yet, a little bit of contact there, wasn't there? Well, you make of that what you will. I wouldn't say anything. I know that clerk of the course, Nigel Edwards, was very keen to say to drivers, come on lads, karting's a non-contact sport, let's make sure that we keep it nice and clean. And I have to say, in this final, we have seen a high standard of driving, some good racing. Chris Lock there in shot now, coming. Now that shows you, our television shot showed you that the whole of the home straight was the advantage of Christopher Lock. As I look away from a television screen, I would estimate that margin to be something like about 70 or 80 metres. It's a big margin, 3.7 seconds. Good dice behind those two though. Mike Hewson's third. Luke Varley you saw going past Hannes van Asseldonk. Hannes van Asseldonk in fifth place in front of Mike Simpson. Luke Varley goes back into fourth place in cart number 280. I'm just trying to get the dimensions. I would say that Christopher Lock's lead over Ben Cooper is of the 60 to 70 yards variety. But behind those two, Mike Hewson's in third place. In fact, I've lost that. Hewson's is fifth. Hewson's has been passed. I missed that on my screen. I missed that. Mike Hewson's has been passed by cart number 280, which is Luke Varley. Hannes van Hasseldonk has gone fourth. Mike Hewson's down to fifth. Mike Simpson's sixth now. So Mike Hewson's, who I was anticipating to have held that position, has lost a couple of places. Not good for the world number two, the European number two. But Christopher Lock leading Ben Cooper by a huge margin. Luke Varley coming under pressure from Hannes van Hasseldonk. Luke Varley under pressure from Hannes van Hasseldonk in cart number 229. I don't think he's under an immediate threat. Mike Hewson's is definitely not quite on the pace there. I don't think he's under threat from Michael Simpson. Mike Simpson running in sixth place at the moment. 4 laps to go, so it's going to take some misfortune for any of those drivers to spill those positions. But Chris Lock already on his way at the foot of the hill. There you see in our screen the captions. Chris Lock, Ben Cooper, Luke Varley making an English 1, 2, 3. Then the Dutchman, Hannes van Hasseldonk and Mike Hewson's. Mike Simpson completing the top 6. Imre Birijdo, though, is 7th. Danny Kamash 8th. Luke Cordle into the top 10 at 9th. And it's Michael Manser completing the top 10. But in shot, the man I've been largely watching from a different angle, Christopher Lock. Christopher Lock drives for the RL Racing Team. RL stands for Richard Lock. His father, David Lock, his uncle, raced supercarts a few seasons back. Don't think he does so now. Their circuit is Beccles, the Ella Raceway in the east of England. And you see that margin there on our screen. Well, Chris Lock's margin, 3.36 of a second. So Ben Cooper, with just, 2.5 laps to go, has got a lot of work to do if he wants to win this one. Christopher Lock in cart number 217. Having made a place at the World Finals in the Rotax Finals last year. He drove in DD2, drove with Tiffany Chittenden as a wildcard entry in DD2. And would you believe it, the two British drivers, Christopher Lock and Tiffany Chittenden, had a collision and they went out in nothing short of ignominy, really. Well, Christopher Lock in shot now is not in an ignominious position any longer. He's in a huge lead in the pre-final with, let me see, 2 new full laps remaining as he comes onto the home straight. That shot on the back straight is a nice one, shows the undulation. Chris Lock starts his penultimate lap, so does Ben Cooper. In third place, so does Luke Varley. Hannes van Hasseldonk 4th, Mike Hewson's 5th. Mike Simpson 6th, Imre Birijdo 7th, Danny Kamash 8th, Luke Cordle in 9th position in front of Mikel Manser. That's a good dice, isn't it? Mikel Manser, Thiago Ribeiro, Antoine Barton, Antoine Lepeceur, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th. But at the sharp end with 1.5 laps to go, it's looking good for Chris Lock. He would start, here comes the commentator's curse. He would start the final on pole position if he wins it. Let's say no more than that. Good drive by Tom Fawcett up into 14th place. Stephen Tilsley into 15th. But that good dice, Thiago Ribeiro in 11th place. Never missed a Rotax Euro Challenge ever. And Kevin Rijkaard up into 16th place, having been bundled off at the start. So he's heading for an 8th lap start in the final. So Kevin Rijkaard repairing the damage. And you see on our caption, he's just set the fastest lap. Well, the Intrepid Force Rotax driver, winner of the Middle East Karting Cup in the winter, is fighting back. He's in 18th place, according to our caption, which would mean a 9th place, a 9th row start on the grid. So maybe I misread that from my kart data timing screen. The last lap board has gone out. Have to do justice to Christopher Lock, kart number 217, because although he hasn't provided us with any close racing at all, this is a virtuoso display. His fastest lap, 51.323. Not as quick as Kevin Rijkaard, but hey, winning the races is what it's all about. Here's the checkered flag, and there's Christopher Lock taking the checkered flag. Ben Cooper comes home in second place. Luke Varley in third place. First of the Dutchmen home is Hannes van Asseldonk. Then comes Mike Hewson fifth. Michael Simpson finishes in sixth place. Daniel Camash is seventh. Imre Birijdo eighth. Luke Caudle ninth from the back. And Antoine Barton of France completes the top 10. Thiago Ribeiro just outside the top 10 in 11th place. Kevin Rijkaard eventually finishing 17th, and Josh Hart, his teammate, finishing 19th. So it's a 9th row start for Kevin Rijkaard and a 10th row start for Josh Hart in the final, but the final is over a greater length. The final is over the full race distance, which, let me see, just double check, that is an 18-lap race, so a little bit longer than the pre-final, and those guys can do it if it comes to. Well, confirmation on our graphics that Christopher Lock, Ben Cooper and Luke Varley made a British 1-2-3. The Dutch challenge came from Hannes van Hasseldonk 4th and Mike Hewson's 5th. More Brits, Mike Simpson and Danny Camish 6th and 7th. Hungary, represented by Imre Birijdo, went so well at the A1 Speed World Austria a few seasons ago. The French had a good drive in the shape of Antoine Barton. Antoine Lepeceur slipped a few places late on. It was a good drive by Stephen Tildesley from the back. Disappointment for James Bean. I think there may have been some problems. He's better than that 16th place would suggest. And there's confirmation that Kevin Rijkaard finished 17th. Johan Auberjohn, by my reckoning, the best of the French drivers. Been so unlucky in this meeting. He will start on the 9th row. Just keep an eye out for Johan Auberjohn when we race the final. New Zealander Josh Hart, who was in that early problem at the top of the hill, will start on the 10th row with Mats van der Brand, who suffered from a disqualification earlier in the event. Jeff van Bergijk, who had to go in the second chance race, he will start on the 11th row. Sad to see former world number 3 Martin Pearce struggling as he is. Races for Ireland now, lives in the Dublin Bay area. He'll start on the 12th row. The Israeli driver Yoav Goldbaum, who had problems early on, he starts on the 13th row. Well, as we go down to our final captions, the drivers who had problems, none more so than Adam Janus, who had to come in very, very early. Curtis Roberts, the Welshman, 30th, starts the final on the 15th row. Has gone very well in the preliminaries, but it's gone wrong for him today. So, that was the senior pre-final. It augurs well for the final later in the day. Hope you're enjoying the racing. Hope you're enjoying our coverage here from Racelands at Wackersdorf in the Bavarian region of Germany.